What's up, guys?
Hi.
Two weather guys,
Hi.
two wise guys, I hope. Man, hopefully you guys are all doing well. Taste of fall. We've had it here. We had a record low, Wes. We got down to 55 one morning. It broke a record from 1968.
Did the pipes freeze?
No, none of that. But we almost had to cancel school. That's us Alabamians. We can't handle this cool air. Like let's knock it off.
Black ice would just pop up out of nowhere.
I will say there's something to be said about we get used to a certain temperature in spring and in winter, even like 40s we get used to even though it's cold. It was 55 and I thought it was chilly. I mean, it's the first time you feel that cool, crisp air and it hits different.
Oh yeah, and we have been spoiled here for the last 3 weeks with that cool air, and now I I got 92 for the high this weekend, and I if this was like 2 months ago, I would have got 94. I'm a little reluctant now because one, I don't know if it's going to get that hot, and two, I feel like people will be pissed
Yeah.
if they see a 94.
So on my sheet here, I don't know if you can see the red.
Yeah,
I got
95.
I got two 96s and a 95 next week. I was kind of reluctant to do it, but I've seen enough, and we're borderline in a drought. So for people at home, if there's not water in the soil, if it is very dry, your temperature is going to swing more. Models a lot of times won't pick up on some of those things. So I've been burned in the past where I've been like, oh no, we got no soil moisture. It hasn't rained in a long time. And I think we're going to see 60s and 90s. Big swings.
Well, we will suffer through what is hopefully the last bit of summer before fall together.
Yeah, we should probably text, maybe keep each other, informed, make sure we're okay. I don't want anyone keeling over, when the 90s come back. So that you guys, I was looking at some of the data for Kansas City. You guys we talked about this with tornado season. You see bigger swings over the long haul because of you're further to the north, but you guys are going to be cooling down very quickly over the next couple of weeks based off of your climo.
It's interesting. I was actually just crunching some of the numbers on the tornado count for the year because the tornado count really drops off September and onward.
Yeah.
Alabama finished fifth overall with most tornadoes.
Oh, all right. Well, let me try to guess. Was Arkansas up there?
Arkansas is behind you.
Oh, all right. Strike three.
This seems low. You tell me if this is wrong. 68
in Alabama?
Yeah.
No, that sounds right. Because when I had looked, this is back in May. I think there were 62 and sometimes they go in afterwards and they'll confirm a tornado. I've seen them confirm a week or more later. So I think that's accurate. But we had a very busy, we had 19 on one day in March 15th. And then we had one more event, May 20th, which was very late for us. But yeah, it was. I'm always glad to put tornado season in the rear. And even though it means we're about to be scorching hot for a couple months, at least we don't have to worry about that nonsense.
Well, enjoy a few more scorching hot days, and then you worry about fall tornado season. So this is at least like warm season tornado season numbers here. Alabama, 68. That's the number 5 on most tornadoes in the United States. Number 1 is Texas, of course, always number 1. They're the biggest, whatever. Number 2 is Illinois with 134 tornadoes. Number 3 is Missouri with 120 tornadoes.
Y'all had that pattern where you remember it was just south of you and the fronts couldn't move. So you had that severe weather sandwich between us.
It was terrible. Southeast Missouri just got absolutely wrecked for days and days. Mississippi at 103. And then the drop off here is incredible. Alabama 68 from 103 to 68.
Yep, I just pulled up Alabama's tornado database, and I've got 69. But the SPC is going to be different from, as we know, the National Weather Service. The SPC and the National Weather Service won't always agree, but that's a huge drop off, and we're right next door. So
this should be a good topic for a future episode. Because whenever you look at the plotted tornadoes, it's pretty insane how many tornadoes occurred in southern Mississippi, and how close they were to one another.
Remember Grady, though, he pointed out that bullseye, southern Mississippi. I never in a million years would have guessed there's a bullseye over, I want to say, was it Smithfield or Smith? Somewhere down near Hattiesburg.
Yeah,
Is that was crazy. I still, that conversation we had, I've listened back to some of the stuff he said, and I was like, I thought I knew stuff. Thought I knew.
go back, take notes,
I got to go back to school. So
save those. Save those. I'll do that and add them to my hard drive that I took home from college. And
I have all of it. I showed it to Grady after we got off. I was like, "Hey, do you remember this? This is the synoptic midterm, the take home test. Like, I have all of it. I pulled off my computer when it was getting ready to die. I don't know why, but I got it.
Well, now you use it. Now it's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So changes in tornado count. This is changes in temperatures, and I mean the Midwest is known for like drastic changes in temperatures, no matter what. Missouri is known for it, but the worst is actually in the Dakotas. The further you are away from water, the more drastic you have changes in temperatures. But I mean, after working in Missouri for a combined like 8 years, there is without fail, people are just like, we're just we're just skipping fall this year, huh? We're just going right from summer to winter. Like, do you get that?
Yeah. We got, like I said, that fake fall, and everybody was like, "Whoa, what happened?" Because the week before we had like a heat advisory, which down here to get a heat advisory issue, it's got to be pretty hot. So within a week's time, we had a heat index of 106 and then a record low. That was lovely. Try to get used to that.
So it's just a United States thing, maybe. Right? I mean, you guys are like generally closer to the water, so maybe just anybody that is not within a 1 hour's drive of the water has this problem.
I will say ours is not that. If our record low, so I write down the records. We only have a few record lows that dip into the 40s this time of year. I mean, we get into the 50s, and that's a big deal because we're next to the Gulf, and you almost always have that influence. And so, even with a good front, we don't typically drop into the 50s until late September. Certainly not the 40s until sometime in October. Last year was one of the earliest we hit 30s. October 18th, we hit like 39 degrees because I remember that being just ridiculously early.
That's pretty cold, pretty early.
Oh yeah, Halloween was frigid.
So what we have here, these are the mean average temperatures, and like that seems redundant, like mean average, like they're saying the same thing. However, when you take the high and the low, you take the average of that, and you take all those averages. It's the average of the averages and means.
Average.
Just a bunch of stuff washed together, essentially. And so each month there, the coldest month here in Kansas City is January. The hottest month is July. There's about a 50-degree difference on those temperatures. But if you take the temperature at the beginning, or rather, if you take the temperature of March and the temperature of May, and you calculate that difference, it's about 21 degrees. If you take the average temperature of September and the average temperature of November, it's about a 25-degree change in temperature. So although like that numerically is 4 degrees or so, it is much more noticeable. And the public definitely notices drastic change a lot more in the fall than they do the winter. And I don't know if like maybe that has something to do with the fact that like people are used to being in warm homes. And so it coming outside, getting warmer outside isn't a drastic change versus the winter time. Evan, what do you think?
When you first brought this up to me, I was thinking like, man, how much different could it be? But that's a pretty significant difference. And my thought would be, so in the springtime, we're starting to see the tropical air mass win that tug of war and get further north. In the fall, that dry air is coming in, that continental air. And when you take the moisture away, you tend to see those bigger temperature swings. I wonder if it's just a matter of where we're sourcing the air mass from. A good northerly flow, and dew points in the 20s and 30s will cool down really, really quickly versus in the spring, you kind of have that humid subtropical air mass pushing back. But that's a That's an interesting graphic.
All right, so how does Birmingham compare to this?
Yeah, this was good stuff. So just okay, look at this. Look at the difference in how. Oops, wrong one.
Look
Look at this. Okay, so
at this. That's us.
yeah. Hey, in case you guys are just tuning in, this is us. We're weather wise guys.
We wear blue suits and red ties for all photos.
We do. By the way, if you get a new picture or something, mine that's from 2020, so that's very old. I was a little chunk back then, but got to get something new here. But okay, now look at the sharp contrast. I mean, it's like going up a big mountain, and then Birmingham. Obviously, there's some too, but it's not as drastic. Even the differences you plotted here from March to June, 15 degrees. I mean, we didn't touch what you had in 28 degrees on either end of this, and I do think that is a product of being closer to the Gulf.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The one thing that I was a little surprised by, though, is that you all actually have a greater difference in temperatures between seasons in terms of like the two brackets from spring and fall. Like your difference in temperatures is 6, right? And our difference in temperatures is like 5.
Interesting, huh?
Or it's like 3. No, it's like 3.5. 3.5 degree difference in temperatures there, and yours is like 6.
Huh? I had never. We could get lost in these numbers because I love transitional seasons. It's fun, especially fall. Trying to figure out the fronts. Obviously, in the spring, it's a bit more drastic, but that's interesting stuff. What was your average? So your warmest mean temperature 78. Ours almost 82.
Your
So
June is our July.
yep, almost to a T. So, but I think
And then
more.
your January is our, let's see, go back to Kansas City. Your coldest month is our March.
All right, so I'm going to go out of order here because I think this actually might fit. Um, so I'm going to grab this. So I was just looking at the change in daylight. Um, Somebody was asking me this. They said, why do we have, for example, we talk about my family in Traverse City, right? They have
Mhm.
like over 15 hours of sunlight on the solstice. They're already down to less than 12. And for people at home that maybe have never thought of it or curious, the higher you go up latitude wise, closer to the pole, North or South Pole, the more drastic the differences are as far as the amount of daylight and the directness of that sunlight that you get in the peak heating of the year. So I just looked at Kansas City and Birmingham because that's us, and you were at almost 15 hours on the solstice. We were, just under 14 and a half. And you kind of talked about temperatures already, but our average high that day is 89, and then we go down to 84 on the equinox. You see a pretty steep drop off. You lose almost 3 hours of daylight in that period. So you're further north. You're at about 40 degrees latitude. So you see that bigger swing. And I think looking at your numbers on temperatures, that plays a role too, because you're going to start to get a vastly different, in contrast, daylight hours from one date to the next, where ours is more, we ease down. It's kind of like when you get down into Florida.
Mm.
Miami has almost 13 hours of daylight all year. Um, Obviously, it's tropical, but you seeing that big swing probably has to do with those ranges to some extent as well.
That's a good point. Hadn't super duper considered that. I did think like, yeah, okay, Canada's probably cooling down faster than everybody else because they're losing daylight. The North Pole is cooling off faster because it's losing daylight. So like that makes a ton of sense.
I think it takes time though. It's not like instant, which is the question I got today, and so I grabbed this. I was looking at just Birmingham earlier. So our average high temperature, I just grabbed the highs because it's all over the place. Our average high in March on the equinox is 67 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar time frame, almost the exact. In September, we're 84. So you have the same amount of daylight, and somebody's asking me, why on earth would we have the same daylight but have such a difference in temperature? I'll let you take this one.
Please go to my chat GPT generated.
Oh no. All right, so the way this, because I wondered this too. It was like it's like when you're a kid and it's 32 degrees on the Weather Channel, and you're like, why is it not snowing?
Yeah.
We spend the entire winter cooling at the surface, so we have less daylight, the sunlight's less direct, and it's just a colder air mass. So the surface itself is very cold. By this point in September, it has been sunny. We've had direct sunlight. It has been warm. So the ground, we've been basically accruing this heat, and it's insulated things. We've absorbed the heat at the surface. So you have all this terrestrial cooling in the wintertime, and it takes longer for us to warm up versus September. Same daylight hours for us, but a 15-degree difference just because we've basically been building on temperatures. And to be fair, we're let's see, we have dropped down since we are almost 2 hours of daylight less today than we were on the solstice. So there's an hour and 50-minute difference, but we haven't cooled off that much yet because it takes time. It's not an immediate thing. We've kind of built up, accumulated the heat at the surface. It doesn't all escape, and eventually we'll get there. But anyway, that was something somebody asked me, so I thought I'd throw it in here. It kind of fit with what you had.
Um, part of the reason was also because I think of the Earth's specific heat capacity, or just like the ground specific heat capacity, and where like it takes more sunlight and energy to heat it up, as opposed to its ability to lose the heat. So it will lose heat faster than it can pick it up, which is why your temperature can fall faster once the sun sets versus how long it takes to heat up. And there's also has to do with like there's snow on the ground, and so there's a bunch of snow on the ground, especially here in the Midwest in the upper part, that's reflecting the heat back, and so it's a little slower to warm up.
Yeah, there's definitely not like one distinct, I think, characteristic you can grab. There's a lot of little things, but I think if you look at it in a general sense, there's kind of a big reason, and then there's also these other limiting factors. And I know for us, once we've had a couple good fronts, we see a huge drop off in temperatures through October. So our average height at the beginning of October is 82. By the end of the month, it's 69. That's our biggest change throughout a month all year. And that's because we got this dry air moving in and everything else. But that's our most pivotal month from a temperature standpoint. I was going to say something
82 to 69. Yeah, that's a lot.
I got really excited about when we started talking about these temperatures and everything else. I started thinking about, I like to show these graphics, especially when it's quiet, that shows our trends. So today's average high is 87. So I went from today to Halloween. Average high on Halloween is, I think, 69 degrees. So we drop pretty significantly. Nice. Halloween's not that far away. And so that means we're going to see a major change over that period. And that's when fall usually comes barging down and catches us by surprise.
That used to actually annoy me a lot. Whenever I was at school in Mississippi, it was like very hot and humid, through most of September. October, like the first half, it's great. And you get to Halloween, you're like, it's really cold, actually. Like, this is very annoying.
Listen to this. Last year, we dressed up as oh my goodness, the
Flintstones?
No, the show, oh my gosh. The people like Grease, Happy Days. We did, the Fonz and whatnot. Well, I had on this white t-shirt and jeans, and it was not only cool in the 40s, it was windy. The wind is what ticked me off. I can handle 40 degrees by itself. Don't you be gusting, 15 miles an hour while I'm trying to trick or treat. I was irritated the whole time. But I remember that because I was cold, and Lauren's like, "You're the weatherman. Why didn't you?" I said, "Listen,
classic
stuff happens." So
classic.
So
we were. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you if you've had any change in foliage yet. Any leaves changing?
Yeah, there are a few trees like here and there that are changing. Like some trees, it doesn't matter what the species are. It'll just kind of change early. But sometimes trees change around here early because they're stressed out from pests, bugs,
Stressed out? How can you be stressed in the
stressed
tree? You just kind of
stressed
bask
out.
all day.
Bugs are eating their leaves. It's not raining. No one's watering them, and so whenever they start to, feel the impacts of less sunlight, they're like, you know what, we're just gonna call it a year. We're just gonna
See you in the
call it.
spring.
Start dropping. Exactly. Exactly.
So, one of the misconceptions with fall and the changing of leaves, and this for the longest time I didn't understand this, or maybe I just didn't choose to like learn it. But our leaves don't turn because it's cold. It turns because we have a change in the amount of sunlight. So, I think we learned in earth science sometime in elementary or middle school that you need the sun's light. It's good for the plants and everything else. Well, as the sun gets lower and lower on the horizon, it's not providing as much of these. How do you say that? The chlora. It's on another slide, but
Carotenoids. What is
something
it?
something like that. Chlorophyll.
Oh,
Chlorophyll production
chlorophyll.
slows down with the decrease in the sunlight and lower sun angle. So that's what initiates everything, not necessarily the temperature, and that's why it makes sense from a latitude standpoint. We see peak further north,
Hmm.
and our sun angle already up there in Michigan is very low. In North Dakota, Minnesota, compared to here, it's much lower. So peak starts there sooner.
And this is where it gets a little bit confusing to me, is that the cold temperatures do play a role. It has something to do with like sugars in the stems of the leaves or something like that, in terms of the whole changing. And then, yeah, and this one is a little tough to predict in terms of what the weather is going into fall foliage. And there is some concern, or I'm concerned rather, that we are going to have muted and shorter fall foliage this year, shorter, earlier, muted this year, because we're going into this season pretty dry.
Same, yeah. We were wet the first half of the year extremely, and the last month has just been really dry. And we've had it. I remember a couple years ago, might have been 2023. We set all these records because it was so dry. Our temperatures were warming, but it went from like green to brown to fall. Like everything fell. It was so disappointing because we missed out on that. And you can see here the science of it. If the temperatures aren't right, like you said, and the moisture's not right, it'll totally change the process at which the trees change and then lose their leaves. So I would like some foliage. I love fall. I love the colors. We need to get it together.
Okay, but here's where this graphic confuses me, and we have the exact same graphic in our weather systems. It says moisture impact dry, leaf color change may be muted and delayed. However, we know that if a tree is stressed out, it'll start to change early. And so this is where it's just so confusing to me. I'm just like, what are we going to do here
I think
with the leaves?
I think the point you're getting to is now we need a botanist. Okay, I don't know anything about trees. In fact, I grabbed that identifier because I had no clue that there's certain leaves that turn a specific color. And again, if you're gardening fans or plant fans out there, don't hate me for that. I just didn't realize that certain trees tended to go to a certain color
Yeah.
versus others. That it was specific to the type of tree. So you start talking about this stuff, and it might have something to do with the type of tree. It could be how old it is. Who knows? We. I would say my experience, if it's really dry going in, we tend to see much much less in terms of the foliage, and it just kind of stinks. But lots
Yeah.
of influential factors again.
I do know like maples go from red to yellow. Um, and then like oaks go bam. Oaks just go yellow to brown or something like that.
Red,
Red.
brown, russet.
Maples, yellow, bam, red maple, bam. sugar maple, bam. Y'all got those sour woods down there?
Oh, we do. We got a
Nice
lot
crimson.
of dogwood trees. That's a big one.
Mm.
Don't have a lot of maple. I know I don't have any. And then we got oaks, and Alabama loves pine trees. If there was a pine tree factory on the globe, it's Alabama. I don't know what it is. I know there's a lot of pine tree farms, but they just they thrive here until we have a windstorm, and then everybody's got firewood.
Yeah, yeah. Your power goes out,
Oh yeah.
and the neighbors come out with chainsaws, take care of it before you have a chance to go show it on TV, and there you go.
During our severe weather event, that's exactly what happened. Tree fell on my neighbor's house, took out my fence. It was just a lovely spring, lovely, lovely. So this is I always find this interesting because it's not. Look at how this is drawn. So this is actually not the Barron system. I didn't like their graphics, so I got a KML from Explore Fall.
Mm-hmm.
And look at how there's that like notch that goes up to like Rapid City and Omaha. Like, can you explain to me why that would be like a weird outlier? Like that's so bizarre that you've got that little pocket of late October, and then all around it it's mid. Is there anything like
That should be topography induced type of a situation, and that also may be part of how weather systems, like lows will develop off of the Rockies, and so they're drawing up warmth and moisture. And so it's possible that there are like lows developing over the northern Rockies, and so that's where the low is pulling in warmth and moisture. So it's a combination of that, and also Nebraska. Once you get in like eastern Nebraska, it starts to get a little hilly. Kansas is actually pretty hilly as well. So I think it is topographically influenced, but I mean it makes a lot of sense that like the Rockies are late September overall.
this
I mhm,
this kind of looks like right here. Like this generally this looks like where a low would be and a front.
exactly.
I'd never thought of that, but maybe there's something to it. That's what I figured. I saw this and I was like, that's a very odd map, but a lot of them showed this, and you could be onto something there. More research.
Well, see that little speck by where Kansas City would be?
Yeah,
All right, I've seen that on so many maps, and this is supposed to take into account the urban heat island causing a delay in peak fall foliage in Kansas City. There's a tiny little yellow speck right there. And I think there is some truth to it because once you get out of town, like once you get along the Missouri River or along the Kansas River, there you go.
right there.
Along the Kansas River, it will be turning slightly earlier than the rest of the Kansas City metro is. Yeah,
That's so
that
funny.
little speck of yellow right there. I don't know if it's showing up in any other cities or not, though. Like St. Louis, it's not really there. Wichita seems like it's a part of too much of a pattern, like overall, for it to be in one city.
Maybe Louisville right over here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Could be. That looks like Knoxville right there. How about that?
Man.
Not really, but anyway, that spec is very interesting. But yeah, I saw that swath of just right up through the Dakotas, and I thought that's a very interesting look. So good theory.
So yeah, we're late October for our peak fall foliage, or unless you're in Kansas City or Johnson County, Kansas, it's early November.
Good old
And
Johnson
then
County.
Johnson County, huge county. And then yeah, you all are right there with the folks of Johnson County, Kansas. What? Okay, this is kind of weird because the Ozarks across northern Arkansas, especially where the terrain is highest, is usually a little bit sooner. It's more like mid-October because they're colder, a
Right
little bit
here.
colder, and so they'll hit their peak a little faster. Yes, right around there. That in fact, that is one of the best places to go and look for fall foliage is in northern Arkansas because there's so many trees. It's very foresty. And it's a little bit cooler. And I'm blanking on the name of the town in northern Arkansas, but it's a really pretty place to go.
All I can think of is Branson in that area,
That's
but that's
close.
Missouri.
It's all the same. It's all the same vibe.
Yeah, something that's interesting here too. So I lived in Dothan for 6 years, and I can tell you there is a massive difference in the foliage here in northern Alabama versus southern Alabama. And I think that can be attributed to if you have a pattern where, we have fronts that'll get to Birmingham, get down to Montgomery, and then it'll stop. I wonder if between the rain and everything else, there's just a huge difference because there's a much more pronounced fall. There's a much nicer changeover with the colors here. So
Mm-hmm.
we fall under that late October, early November. But down in Dothan, sometimes we wouldn't see it change till the end of November. I remember Thanksgiving into early December is when we'd have it, and then it would just all fall off. Um, but again, I do think the latitude has something to do with that because by that point, I don't know how much daylight you have, and how much your temperatures have dropped. I know we had that at the beginning, but the further north you are latitude wise, the earlier it is, the quicker we cool down,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see the difference between us two. But look at that. If you're in South Texas, Houston down to Galveston, you don't even
Don't
get
got it.
fall. You
So
don't get
go to the
it.
beach.
I
I'm
couldn't.
actually surprised the Panhandle has fall foliage. Like even parts of the Gulf of Mexico and the Panhandle and like Mobile and
Yeah,
Biloxi have fall foliage.
I'll be honest with you. I'd been down to Pensacola this time of year before, and I don't think I ever noticed any leaves. So who knows? I'm sure at some point, trees shed their leaves and whatnot. But um, I definitely don't think of, oh, hey, we're down in Pensacola. Look at all these beautiful, amber and orange and yada yada
Yeah,
leaves. So,
yeah.
but
I do see the little speck. Okay, St. Louis has their little warm speck on there as well, and then maybe that's Nashville. I don't know. You said Knoxville. I don't know if Nashville is being picked up as well by that little late
right
yellow. I
here,
don't know my tennis.
is that
That's
the
St. Louis for sure.
okay? Yeah, this is Nashville. This
That's
is
Nashville. Okay.
this is Knoxville.
Okay.
Um, that is so interesting.
You said Cincinnati was up there, or no?
So, uh, I think this is. I think that's Louisville. Lexington's over here, and I think that's Louisville.
Okay.
Tough to tell, but I had not looked this intently at this map until now, and now that you say it, um, it's very interesting because if you look really close
Oh, yeah.
up here, there's Chicago.
Huh.
Um, you got Erie. Interesting. All right. Well, we're gonna have to do a deep dive on why the
Fun.
foliage in a very small metro is later than all the suburbs.
Oh, I'm glad I could bring that to your attention. And no one's going. No one's going to Pensacola to go leaf peeping.
I am going to
You're
Pennsylvania.
going to stay away from it, actually.
Yeah, everybody goes south with the birds. Have you seen all those posts about the birds going south as these fronts come in? They're like, nope, see ya.
Oh yeah, the bird migration. Oh yeah, for sure. Those posts blow up. I definitely go to Birdcast and post that stuff on my Facebook, and I was like, please interact with my photo.
I think you might have been your page might have been the one that I saw it first, and I saw it everywhere, and I was like, I don't know a thing about birds. Like I mean, I'd love to talk about it, but I have no idea. I just know that like it was funny to me because we've been in a troughing scenario. You've been right on the axis, but like
Mm-hmm.
the eastern half of the U.S. has been under this this big trough, and it's just dry front after dry front, and all of a sudden all these birds are like, see ya, not doing it.
I never realized that the birds are like just going behind a cold front. I guess it makes a lot of sense, right? Just like a hop on a prevailing northerly wind and just allow it to carry you down to apparently the Yucatan Peninsula where they're going.
I mean, it makes sense. It's kind of like jet pilots will fly. They'll get a preferred altitude where the jet stream is strongest if they're flying from west to east because it's prevailing wind. It'll help. It makes sense that the birds are like, hey, this is a good gust. This is our September gust. We got to get on out of here.
It's about that time.
The,
Everybody eat up.
the express train down to the coast, down to Pensacola, where the leaves don't ever change.
People love people love bird information. It's crazy. If you tell them, "Hey, birds are coming, put out your bird feeders," oh my gosh, they eat it up.
I'll get pictures from time to time of hummingbirds, and I don't know how people get such good pictures of hummingbirds. I don't know if you've ever seen them fly around. They're very
Oh yeah.
fast. It's almost like a bee flying around. It's nuts. Um, but when people send those to me, I'm like, how did you capture that? And I guess they just give them sugar water. But there's certain times of the year in Alabama where they're really pronounced and they disappear.
I never realized that there are those pronounced times a year either. My grandparents grew up always having hummingbird feeders out, and so like I just thought they always had hummingbird feeders, like hummingbirds are just always around.
Yeah,
But no, it's the migration period in which they're very like they're like swarms of hummingbirds that will come spend the night, drink some sugar water. I mean, fly between Canada and Mexico, and then some of them stay in America, I guess.
yeah. We're basically just a rest stop. They'll stay the night, take
Fly over
your
country.
take your resources, and then get on out of here. So I think fall is something that everyone can get into because there's a fatigue at the end of the year. What was your? Do you know what your highest temperature was this summer, Kansas City, or in your DMA?
Probably like 98, either 98 or 96. That's a good question. This is good content. Thank you.
Yeah, we hit 100 twice. After the whole summer, we stayed in check. We didn't hit 95 for the first time until, I mean, it was late. It was within the top 15 latest years to hit 95. And then out of nowhere, we had a stretch at the end of July where we hit 100 on days that were forecast to be like 95. I was wrong that day, but
You think you got it figured out, and then you don't. Or you think you know what's going to happen based on what's happened in previous years, and then you don't.
you don't. And there's things you definitely pick up on, but like, okay, the next week or so, we're super dry. So I went higher for highs and lower for lows. So we'll see if that pans out. But there's always something to learn in this business,
Yeah.
and if you don't choose to learn, you'll get burned.
Yeah. Stay hungry. Stay young.
Stay hungry, my friends. Is that a fast food? Or stay thirsty, my friends. Isn't there a saying?
Stay thirsty is it Dos Equis or
Uh,
is it Modelo? I think it's Dos Equis.
Stay thirsty, my friends. Something like that.
Dos Dos Equis or Dos Equis?
I don't know. That sounds very cultured to me, and I don't know. Um, Either way, we are moving away from the heat, and I absolutely love it. Okay, so assuming we put a button on the foliage, did you have anything else you wanted to add fall wise? How
I
about
don't think
a
so.
ruined childhood because you always had a rake in your hands? I had to
Oh
rake a
my
tarp
gosh.
of leaves before a friend would spend the night. It was just I hated raking leaves. However, I'm very glad that I learned how to do all this stuff because my backyard just always all at once. It's never spread out. It's just so I can tarp the
Yeah.
heck out of some leaves.
I have two different types of trees. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm the best leaf tarper there is on my street. I'm pretty sure.
I have two different trees in my backyard. One's a maple. One is like maybe an oak or something. They drop leaves at two different times of the year. So like in fall, my maple, dump it all, and then like 2 months later, it'll be snowing. And they're like, oh okay, let's drop our leaves. I'm like, no, I'm
I've,
not.
I've totally seen that before where they're like dead, but they don't fall out of the tree, and then in February they come out. I was so embarrassed, because kids and work, sometimes forget the things. So I just left piles of leaves in the backyard, and I was raking leaves in February. Because they had just stayed there. I mean, they were so dry, they didn't even you rake it, and they kind of like float into the air. But yeah, there's always something. But again, I'm very thankful. I was annoyed, but I always had a rake. Always had a rake in
Yeah,
my hands.
I used to have my own lawn care business, and I took on one job of raking leaves, and then like that ruined it for me because like you could rake. It was one day I raked them, the yard was fine. The next day I came back, and it's like you did absolutely nothing. Like I quit. Like I can't. I'm done.
Something that's
I quit.
infuriating too, if you're using a leaf blower or raking, and it's the windy season. Our windiest month is October, so you're just raking. You're trying to mind your own business, and here comes a gust of wind, and everything you just raked up is back in the yard. I'm like, okay.
And
Anyways,
here is what makes it extra annoying for me is that, like, hey, the environmentally friendly thing to do is just to leave your leaves there and just let it naturally compost. Okay, well, like your
I
grass
do
is going
think
to die then.
I was gonna say, if you put it like we used to compost, so like for our garden, we'd rake it all into this area and it would break down and we'd use it. But I leave it on my grass, and what grass is still grass. I mean, it's just gonna die. And I worked hard to keep the little grass I have alive, so I ain't killing it with leaves. So
Yeah. Yeah, leaves. I gotta oversee my backyard.
in the springtime. Okay, I know it's been a while since we did this. We talked earthquakes a couple times this summer, and one of the comments I got, there's some interest in earthquakes. I think when I go to schools and they ask, we're geoscientists, so we go outside the realm of meteorology. I always get asked about tsunamis, volcanoes, and earthquakes.
Mm-hmm.
And our episode was the same. I had a couple questions down there, and so, all right, Wes, put you on the spot. Do you know the name of the volcano on Mars?
Oh no!
Olympus Mons is what it is called.
Wow.
And wow, yeah, Owen Wilson. Um, so the question was, how big, or what does Olympus Mons stand up to, and what is the perspective compared to any mountain or volcano on Earth?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking into this, and come to find out, it's the largest known volcano in the solar system. And we've done a decent amount of exploring. We have a lot of these satellites that'll pass by, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, which there's a ton. And to think that this is the largest in the solar system, I thought was fascinating. Um, and they do something. NASA people who study these in more the astronomy level about using meteorites to identify how long it's been there. But they estimate between 3 and 3.5 billion years that Olympus Mons has been growing.
Hmm.
And um, that's fascinating to me. Also, Mars does not have tectonic plates like Earth does.
Huh. That's really. Oh, so it has no magma core, I assume.
So it does. There's still that
Oh.
liquid core, but what happens is, Earth, right? Like Hawaii, the Aleutians, a lot of the islands out in the Pacific, they formed because the magma, the lava was coming out from these cracks in between the plates. So it was
Mm-hmm.
alleviating pressure. The theory is on Mars, because there's not those plate boundaries, the pressure builds and builds over time. And rather than being released in between plates, it eventually gets strong enough that it punches through. And they think that's why perhaps Olympus Mons formed, is it was a very concentrated area of pressure. It has broken through and it's continued over, that period of time, and has become just absolutely massive. So slow and steady. Also, Mars gravity, I think, is about half, if not less. I think we're like 9.8. I think they're at like 4 point something. So it's about half.
Mm-hmm.
And so that allows, I guess, once these lava flows get going, or these magma flows, that they aren't thwarted or slowed down as much because gravity's less. So all stuff I hadn't thought about. But now I feel like I have a whole different appreciation for Mars. Big old volcano.
So they have like, I think like one giant blowhole for the entire planet, where they get all the pressure out of.
There are, I think, a couple dozen other volcanoes on the planet itself, but none that are close to the size of Olympus Mons. So this is
Hmm.
this is kind of an idea of how big it is. So Everest it reaches 5.5 miles up from sea level. The this is The one next to it, I'm not going to try to say. That is Hawaii. They're taking that measurement from where it starts beneath the water. So they're including that because it's a mountain of itself and it's a volcano. So the entire size of that volcano is 6.3. So that's the largest volcano on Earth. Olympus Mons is not only more than double that. The width of this thing, 374 miles,
Oh,
is the size. That's the size of France. So theoretically, you could put Olympus Mons in France, and it would cover the entire country. That's nuts.
that is crazy. And I think Earth is a little bigger than Mars.
Oh yeah, they're very close in size. I know Mars is smaller. Venus is very close to Earth as well, but it's a completely different atmosphere. 14 miles up, that's hard to comprehend because the top of the troposphere for us at the highest point is like 11 miles. In most areas is about 9. So this would be
Hmm.
poking into the stratosphere.
Oh, that's
Um,
true. I'll
so
try and climb that bad boy.
yeah, this is above where any commercial airliner would be by a long shot. Um, so I found that fascinating. That, and the other thing too, I put these next to each other. The slope of Olympus Mons, you saw, it's very gradual. It's a
Hmm.
shield volcano, and that's another thing that how they've estimated how long this has been here is it's a continuous slow. The lava comes over the top and it gradually goes down the sides, and so shield volcano
Okay.
versus the more explosive ones like Krakatoa, when they blow, it takes out a whole side of the mountain, whole side of the volcano, so it doesn't have that nice shape. It's very interesting. So the person who asked that, which name is escaping me, I think it was a handle. Appreciate it. I did a deep dive on some Mars stuff, and I enjoyed it very much.
The kids at your next school presentation that you show that to are gonna love it.
Oh, I'm saving all this stuff. Plus, I built all these on I built this on Canva. That's like my new thing. Is I get bored, and so I try to think, hey, what can I make here? I just made my wife's doing a baby shower, so I made
Hmm.
the invitation on there. She's also a teacher, so I did her October calendar, and I made it all fall like.
Aw,
Yeah, so new little
you're
hobby there.
creative. Well, you're much more creative than I am because my graphic that I submitted, I just asked ChatGPT to make it for me. And
Yeah, I've done a
you can
couple of
tell.
those. I didn't like how they looked though. Like, so I started doing my own. I wouldn't say I'm creative. I like to mess around with it, and eventually I figure it out. But it takes a lot longer than I probably should spend um, on it. But anyway, I digress. So thanks for the astronomy minute. Wes and I were talking before the show about the harvest moon and the corn moon. A little discrepancy there. Depending on where you live, it might be called something different. So I've always associated the harvest moon with September. You were saying
Mhm.
it's October. So
Well, no. Uh, the September could be the harvest moon or the corn moon. You were right in which October is the hunter's moon.
gotcha. See, you mess with me on astronomy, and we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to fly to Kansas City, and we're gonna have to
You're
fix
right.
this.
We'll just look at the stars together.
Can you imagine? What are Wes and Evan doing? Yeah, they're just peering through a telescope, checking out Olympus Mons. I saw. We'll get to this in a second. I saw the rings of Saturn when I was in fourth grade through a telescope with my dad. I'll never forget that.
Oh, it's awesome.
The idea that you can see something that feature from this far away. Um, it was some setup where in its orbit and ours we were closest together in a clear night, and I remember we went out there at 4 in the morning and saw this. And you know, telescope's still my mom's. I should get that, and we can do some sky watching. We can peer into the skies, right?
Peer,
Peery.
peer into the future.
I wish I was better at peering into the future. I might fare better in these competitions. I thought I had you, but
This is close. So it rained
oh,
five
sorry.
hundredths.
Nope, I
That's
didn't.
wrong. Okay,
I didn't
all right.
update that.
That's what I thought. Yeah, we're tied. Um, which is
Oops.
uh Katrina flashbacks.
Oh, that was
Oh yeah. 90. Whenever I was looking at the forecast data for this,
Oh, shoot.
it was like literally the same thing every single day. Like the same high, the same low every single day. And then when I looked at what the forecast was like in the days leading up to it and what actually happened, it was like, okay, if it rains, it's a little cooler. If it doesn't, it's like 3 degrees warmer.
Dude, you absolutely nailed it. I was like, what is like, literally, if you can pick out where that sea breeze thunderstorm is, then great, you'll figure it out. Otherwise, it's 90, 79, 90, 88, 78. Like, I was looking at this. I looked at so many models because I was so determined to beat you. And at the end, I just feel like I wasted time because it's just, there are certain things in weather that you just can't nail. I use the analogy that if you've ever boiled a pot of water, okay, you try to tell me where in that pot the first bubble is going to come up. I like to think of that as convection.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about islands and sea breeze fronts and heck pop ups in Alabama in the summer, once that first bubble comes up, the air is rising and it starts to become more widespread. But figuring out where that first one's going to pop, that's some crystal ball stuff.
It's like impossible.
Yeah. So where are we going next?
I think we should go to New York City.
New York City.
Central Park. This is the place where I tried to win some money by gambling, by knowing the forecast, and I missed it by 3 degrees. But in order to hit this bet, you have to either hit it exactly or hit it within 1 degree. So it's gonna be 1 degree off,
Hmm.
and I was 3 degrees off, so I lost $20.
How many people do you know? How many people bet on this?
It will tell you whenever you go. It's an app called Kalshi or Kalshi. We should get them to sponsor our show. And it'll tell you like, hey, here's how many people think. And you can do like, I think it's gonna be this temperature, and they'll give you 3 different ranges, or you can say, I don't think it's going to be this temperature.
Interesting. That's a whole
And
it's a whole new world out there with gambling, really.
yeah, and again, you would think that like I'm a meteorologist, like I would have a leg up. No, I didn't. A random people that bet 79 degrees actually won their money, and me that like sat there for 20 minutes and did like some actual analysis was wrong. So it's like, all right, cool. Well, this doesn't take just like it doesn't take a football coach to win fantasy football. It doesn't take a meteorologist to win your fantasy weather forecast.
What a great parallel you have there because there's nothing more frustrating, and this is why I stopped playing fantasy, than you sitting down and tinkering and thinking, oh, I figured it out. And then your brother sets the lineup, 10 minutes before kickoff, puts no thought into it, and beats you. I don't have time for that. Frustrating nonsense.
New York City, beautiful place in the fall.
Yeah, we went in the spring, not as beautiful because nothing's in bloom, but the weather was great. It was just the right temperature,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember thinking, this is nice. I don't want to be here in a couple months when it starts to really heat up and you get that crazy urban heat island effect. But
Mm-hmm.
it was very pleasant. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I enjoy visiting New York City for a few days at a time. But once we get past like 3 days, it's like, okay, man, I'm like kind of tired of dealing with everybody and everything being so expensive. And I enjoy space. It's like, all right, we'll call it good.
I saw some weird stuff up there for sure. It's like its own country. It's totally different, but yeah, I know what you mean. Although I love the hot dog stands. I mean, they're around every corner. It's the cheapest thing. That and a slice of pizza. So
You must have got some good hot dog stands. I got one. I tried one hot dog one time, and it was like lukewarm. Casing was tough, and I was like, this was the worst $6 ever.
that is a huge bummer. Yeah, everyone I went to, and granted, I don't have the best palate. I think everything tastes good, but Lauren, my wife, she was like, you want another hot dog? I'm like, yeah. Look at these hot dog carts. They're everywhere. It's like you can go a block. Hey, you get hungry? There's another cart. Nathan's.
Damn. Did you get some cheesecake?
Did not get any cheesecake, but we did go eat at this place that had some sort of famous dessert. Forget the name of the restaurant, but it was nice. I would definitely go back. Could live there, but I go back to visit. It's like Vegas. I love visiting there. I never could live there.
Oh yeah. Well, next time you go, the most famous place is called Junior's Cheesecake, and it really is
Oh, I've heard of that.
so good. It'll be a little different in terms of the crust, but it is so good.
Crust is very important.
Yeah.
What do we talk about next week?
We can talk about tornadoes next week.
Kind of the final counts.
The preliminary counts until the southeast decides to turn on the fall tornado season.
I think that would be a cool thing to talk about because we do pivot very quickly from end of summer heat. So our dry season's October. We average about 3.5 inches of rain, or maybe it's just over 3.5 inches, and that's our driest month of the year by far. But then once we get past October, November is much wetter, and that's where our severe weather picks back up. So maybe we'll talk about kind of geographically because there are some spots that will not have a severe thunderstorm, will not have anything turbulent easily until April. Big difference between those, and we happen to be just far enough south to have that lovely winter tornado season.
So I'm just trying to pull up the monthly tornado counts because I had it up here somewhere. Okay, here we go. So it's super low right now, and then
Okay.
September, Alabama averages 2 tornadoes. So does Missouri. October, Alabama averages 3. So does Missouri. Okay, that's kind of weird. November, Alabama averages 7 tornadoes. Missouri 1. December, Alabama averages 5. And then January, Alabama averages 5.
Yeah, those are hard to quantify those years because we'll go some Januaries where we're just in a cold spell. But I remember on January 1st, 2023, we were 80 degrees on the first day of the year. And on the 12th, we had a severe weather outbreak. And I was chasing in Alabama, and there's way too many pine trees. It's a pine tree factory, and you don't want to chase when there's pine trees. So there are so many months that are hard to account for because it can be one extreme or the other. But yeah, we'll shed some light on that, and appreciate those who have like asked questions, have left this nice comments on YouTube saying that they look forward to this stuff. So
Oh, thank you. As do we.
oh, one other thing, the
Hmm.
tropics. Okay, 6 systems, 1 hurricane. We're gonna have to do some soul searching if it doesn't pick back up and revisit our hurricane forecast because
I'm not.
I think we all had this hesitation that it was going to be this above average season. I know I did, but I didn't have any reason concrete to say why it wouldn't be. I just thought I don't know about this being above average. And we talked with David, so we'll have to bring him back. But I don't remember the last time we got to September 11th, the peak of tropical season, and there is a one outlook area, like 20% out in the middle of the Atlantic. That's it.
I hope this holds low because I went low. So yeah, I would love to have David back on, even if I end up being wrong. Would love to have David
I
back
would.
on it. But if I nail this, I'm gonna brag so hard.
Oh,
Not that I like beat you. Like well, this is the first one I've ever done. Did it for fun, and look at this.
now you're
Did it.
just like those guys who did the uh, did the betting, and they didn't give it two thoughts, but
Yeah.
they won. Maybe we should just be taking shots in the dark at a bulletin board.
Just because just because the water is warm doesn't mean there's going to be 75 hurricanes. Okay, there's a lot more going on.
Wes, you had 13 named, 6 hurricanes, 3 major. I had 15, 7 and 3, so above you, and David had 14, 7 and 3. So he was kind of splitting the difference between us. But
He went average.
yeah, he went average, and then I'm looking at the 2025 outlook: 13 to 19 named, 6 to 10 hurricanes. There's I just don't think there's any chance we get 6 to 10. We've had one. I mean, 5 more hurricanes is certainly not like impossible, but the pattern that we've had, have to have something change. But yeah, we'll have to do some self-evaluating, and maybe this is what helps us learn something. We predict it, and then we're like, well, what the heck happened?
Yeah, yeah. The second half is about to begin, and you can tell you the defensive line can allow the other team to run the ball for 10 yards to carry for 2 quarters straight. We'll just have to see.
Oh, very painful, very painful. Like when we pull it out, though. So
Right.
Thanks everybody for watching, sticking around. If you want to talk about something, weather, science, otherwise, drop a comment. Certainly love interacting with you folks, and we love. This is one of my favorite things that I do now. Whenever we figure out a day, I'm like, yes. So we're the Weather Wise
I
guys.
love it.
Thanks for stopping by.
Hail stay.
Hail stay, clang a clanging.